Hello, my name is Tabs, and welcome to episode 80 of the Grove podcast. I hope you're all doing very well, and despite Arsenal's best, or should that be worst efforts, you're able to sort of enjoy the weekend. Before I introduce today's guest, I'd just like to say a big thank you to Liverpool, who are currently 2-0 up, for helping us in our goal of achieving finishing second 3 times in a row. So it's much appreciated, and yeah, as much as it was back on, it is now well and truly back off. And there you go. And to discuss this and other matters, we've got joining me today is Sparx from Footy Corner TV. Sparx, how are you? How's your day been? And have you finally resigned yourself to the fact that it's done?
I think I've resigned myself to it being done. Yes, I'm kind of looking behind now, so it's kind of there's a bit of solace in the Newcastle game that they're chipping points away from Nottignham Forest. So I guess we're on that route now. So we're not looking forwards, we're looking backwards, and I guess maybe hoping for a miracle, but that miracle doesn't look like appearing at any given point whatsoever.
No, not indeed. Anyway, not at all. Anyway, thanks for joining me today. So look, we're going to be talking about our first home defeat of the season in the Premiership, looking back at the West Ham game in isolation, but also in context of the season, and then we'll do a quick preview of what's likely to be quite a difficult away game against Forest on Wednesday. So there we go. Let's see what we can do with this. I don't know if it's going to be any therapy or it's just going to be anger or a bit of everything. I don't know. I'm sure we'll find a way through it. So look, as we always do in the games, come rain or shine. Do you have any highlights and lowlights from yesterday's game?
Yeah, I mean, I'm struggling to find a highlight, to be honest with you. I guess from the upside of things, I think Nwaneri kind of continued to perform. It took a bit of a while to get into the game, but I think personally he didn't have particularly a bad game, unlike the rest of the squad, really. So I guess that's the one shining light, if you could possibly call it that, although it's not really much solace in anything. There was a couple of takedowns he took that, it was really refreshing to see somebody actually be able to control the ball in the whole game, let alone the season. But yeah, it was really nice to see him just, there was a ball getting pinged across, being plucked out of the air, put under his spell, and he could do whatever he can do with it. But yeah, that's kind of as far as I can go with that one, I'm afraid.
Oh, sorry, I've got a couple. I thought you might have picked one of my ones, but I've got a couple. But anyway, and a particular low light, because I'm sure there's plenty to choose from. Was there anything that particularly stood out from yesterday? It was a bit of a low.
I'd say probably Raya's positioning for the red card for Lewis Skelly. I think if he's further back, and he was pushing particularly high during the whole game, and don't really know why he was doing it, to be honest. But I guess he does that on most occasions. But yeah, that was a particular low light for me. In general, I would say Raya's touch. Sorry, not Raya's touch. Rice's touch was terrible for the whole game. He showed no drive. He showed no ambition. He showed very little kind of solace on the ball, and that's not me having a go at him. That's just me being honest. It was a very poor performance, which obviously the manager agreed with me because he got him hooked quite early on in proceedings. So yeah, that was particularly bad. I thought Timber had his worst game for a very long time. His first touch, he couldn't control anything. There was a few wayward passes. But yeah, I don't want to harp on too much about that, because that's, it's a rarity for both of those players, really, since getting over injuries, since kind of coming back to things. So I don't want to, crucify the guys. I
No,
think,
makes sense.
yeah. The real low light for me, right, is in the last knockings of the game when we're kind of pushing for a goal and pushing for a goal and pushing for a goal. Gabriel's cross. Do you remember Gabriel's cross that just literally just went?
I don't know. A lot of dross just merged into one. So,
Yeah, but that was particular dross because it was like, oh yeah, we've got into a kind of position and we
oh
need to
yeah,
do
yeah,
something with it. So not
yeah,
only do you not give it to a creative player, you
yeah,
don't even keep it in play.
yeah.
I
Oh, I think
mean,
I remember now. Yeah, I think I'd given up by that point. But yeah, it's
yeah,
frustrating. It's frustrating. Yeah.
yeah, I understand that, and I saw people leaving, and I don't do that. It's
No.
just a case of I kind of stick with it no matter what.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if I get a bit of blood pressure and a bit of heart rate up and whatever, but for no apparent reason. But there we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where I am, to be honest.
No, no, no. And I think we will touch on Rice's performance a bit later. I mean, in terms of low light, I wrote one word: everything. That was it. So that was pretty much it, and we can dissect what everything means in a bit. But it was just everything about yesterday was pretty much a low light. But if I could pick out a couple of highlights, one was Ben White's return, which was good to see him, and you could see what he offered. And again, just a difference to Timber. I mean, I love Timber. Timber's been great. He's a monster, but as an attacking threat, I think he's more aerial in terms of, say, from corners or that sort of threat. But he doesn't overlap, whether that's instruction, whether that's the fact that he's just been played into the ground and knackered, or that's just not his game. And he more comes inside rather than outside. You could see how suddenly Ben White offering just a bit of something, a bit of width, and doing what Ben White does, and he almost scored at the end, and scored as well. So I think that was nice, a highlight to see him back, and I think that's what we're gonna have to take from this season: the likes of MLS, the likes of Waneri, all we can. And then the other highlight was I think the funniest moment of the match was the Raya chasing back against James Ward-Prowse, and then Cruyff turning him to set up an attack. It was just so ridiculous. The way it just looked funny, the way he was running, and the fact he outpaced James Ward-Prowse. And so yeah, that was a little bit of levity to the game. And on the rare point, actually, there was one moment, all 22, and this was in open play. This wasn't like the last minute of the game when he came up trying to grab something from a corner. There was a moment when there was 22 players in the West Ham half, because he picked up a ball and he actually strode into their West Ham half to play a pass. And you're right, that's how we play, that's how we are, and we push up high. But it was like, wow, that's how often do
Yeah,
you
it
see that?
didn't need
So,
to be there. It was just
no,
a bit of
just what it was.
yeah, accident waiting to happen, really.
Yeah. So look, in terms of the lineup, the talk of the week. We talked on your show this week, and I think everyone, all the pods, all
Yeah.
online, been talking about who's the starting lineup was gonna be. I wasn't too surprised to see Calafiori over at MLS, just to give MLS a bit of a break. Maybe we needed a bit more of an attacking threat, which Calafiori provides from the beginning. But the big talking point was Marino started up front over Sterling. So what were your thoughts when you saw the lineup? Were you happy with it? Did you want him to do anything different? What you expected?
I mean, like I said in the show that we did, it was very, we all thought Sterling would start, and then Marino would come on later, and I can't even fault anything now. It's kind of you're in a rock and a hard place. It's just ridiculous that it's come to this. I don't. Somebody who has signed Perez. Did you see Perez? That's was a free agent, and somebody's
Oh,
signed him up.
yeah. Lucas Perez. Yeah.
Yeah, Lucas Perez. Yeah, and I know that we're in this situation and such like, but we have no hope of anything being resolved with it. So we kind of resigned to the fact that we've either got Sterling or nothing, or Marino and nothing. And Yeah, yeah, we're just left in a situation, and it's not good, is it? Let's be real
No,
about it. So
no,
there's no real positive to either one
yeah,
of the options. And
yeah,
we were saying that obviously Sterling needs a run of games to get started and to get some confidence and to do whatever. And then he doesn't start him, but
yeah.
damned
I
if you
think
do.
you're right. Yeah,
Really.
I think you're right when you said rock and a hard place. Damned you do, damned you don't. Maybe in hindsight, thinking about it, having something different off the bench if you're struggling, you know, which Marino would. Starting from the beginning makes it easier for teams to work him out and nullify him, and that's what they did. And I said we'll get onto that in a second. And then you're right, bringing Sterling on really didn't offer anything when we came in, and we just shoved Gabriel up front. And even then, he had one poor free kick and didn't really do anything. But then again, that's not him. The whole team, it's hard. And a lot of the players that are underperforming isn't just the individuals. It's maybe just the team as a whole. And it's a bit like when you play a lesser team, you sort of sink to their level. So if you come into a team that's not performing well, it's really hard to suddenly be, and you're not you and your confidence isn't high. You're not great. You will retreat to the lower level. So it's hard. I think the one that might have been possible is Jorginho over Partey, because we were always going to be on the front foot, always attacking. Jorginho's better at playing those balls through the lines and providing more of a probing threat. So again, maybe that would have been something. But again, a lot of this is in hindsight, I would suggest. And when the team
It's
came out,
it's hypotheticals and such like, isn't it? But and I think I suggested that as well when we were on my show. But I think we just needed something to somebody to be creative. The number of times that it was a sideways ball, it was 3 feet or so close to an opposition player, didn't miss out a player once, I don't think, in the whole of that game.
yeah, very slow, very turgid.
It was lethargic, and obviously, you can't really have a go at Marino either, because there was no build up to get anything into Marino anyway.
No,
So
I mean,
it's very disappointing, to be fair.
I mean, it was one of these ones like we often on this one sort of call out some stats. Of course, I think they in times that they help basically justify maybe seeing something that the eye doesn't see, or it validates something and all that. But yesterday was definitely one that the eye test can tell you all about. Yesterday, it says here we had 20 shots, but only 2 on target and 1 big chance, and we missed that big chance. So those 20 shots were nothing shots. It had a 1.22 expected goals to a 1.07, and to me, I think West Ham actually had the better chances. But
I agree.
Yeah. So and look, we had all the possession and so on, but but
I do think something
interesting enough.
needs to be done. Sorry, I just want to say, just while you're on that, I do think something needs to be done for the keeping momentum going, because not just that ref. I'm not just talking about that ref. I'm talking about the rules in general. That the time wasting, and even when Raya's doing it and holding the ball at the back, I just don't get it. You need to keep some kind of fluidity going, and I seem to think every time he's holding the ball like that, it's just killing momentum.
There's a couple of things. I mean, he does it particularly against mid blocks. He does it to try and draw people in, to try and get the space, so we can then bypass that press. So yeah, you're right. I think it's a timing thing. It doesn't have to be done all the time, and you can see, when things are urgent, he does deliver it quickly, and he doesn't do it. But I think it's just trying to break, because teams come with us with a mid block and then a low block. Is the only way really to draw them in, to try and break that, and sometimes it works. But on that point, and very similar, what I do find interesting is that when we do suffer against mid and low blocks, we tend to allow them to get back into position really easy. Yeah. We're not attacking at pace or taking advantage of potentially these gaps. We are so fearful of losing the ball, and we want to be so secure, and we're quite conservative. And we were like this a bit with our best players this season, let alone with our the team that we have now. But again, it's just the front line. Our midfield is still very good. Defense is still very good. We seem to. It's a bit ironic that we allow teams to settle, and you're right. And then we have this slow, passive play, horseshoe of death that we're also familiar with, and it just gets frustrating. You don't get the momentum up, which then doesn't get the crowd up. Which you know, you're right. You need to sometimes build that, and it's only become.
The crowd was poor as well yesterday.
Yeah. Well, this comes to it. This comes from. So, what were your overall thoughts on the game? The performance. And bringing the crowd to that. What were your just general thoughts on the game and the performance as a whole, and how did it make you feel about the team and where we are at the moment?
I felt very angry, to be honest.
Okay.
Just purely because we got ourselves in that position despite the injuries and such like, and it seems yet again we turn up and there's no heart in it. They're just, and I say that from the crowd's point of view as well. I don't think they had the heart or the belief in there, and I don't know what that was about. But I was with a couple of people, and I've got a mouth on me. I just shout and stuff, and somebody tapped me on the shoulder from 2 rows back. And he went, "Yeah, you're on your own there, mate." I was like, "It feels like that, to be honest with you. You get the ripples of sections and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but there's nobody in the direct section actually responding to it. So it was a bit of a, I don't know, is it a damp squid? You call it a damp squid, maybe? But yeah, the whole performance didn't. I did laugh at one point because I do remember the Lee Judges thing where where Odegaard is rallying the crowd, right? And to be honest with you, he did that. I think he did it twice, and it annoyed me. And the reason it annoyed me is because it seemed like they were putting no effort in the field whatsoever. But you want everybody in the crowd to rally up and get behind you. Well, do something to kind of prompt it, and maybe you'll get more people on board.
Yeah, I mean, we are. Fickle. I mean, so in football, there are certain teams and stadiums and fan groups where the crowd will always lift the players. I think Arsenal's very much a players lift the crowd, and I don't think we kick it off. I think it's that way. Yeah, I've heard a lot about the Odegaard as a whole, and that thing about raving. I don't think they think about it too much. They just want a little, just a little lift, just something. Just for that little bit of momentum, that moment in time. I don't think it's a reflection on the crowd being poor or flat. It's just maybe just to help them, just like, some sort of just G's them up a bit. And you're right, it did feel very flat. I mean, I think, there's a lot of, always before any game, there's a lot of positivity, a lot of jokes, a lot of fun. We try and have all the hopium, and we try not to have to be too doom and gloom because the sun was out, we're at the football, etc., etc. But you're right. When you see the game, the way it panned out, for me, it just seems like we're playing as if we're basically screwed. So the players basically know that they're screwed, and they don't have the confidence. And you marry that up with our general conservative nature, and I feel like rather than saying "fuck it," let's play with freedom. It's done anyway. How bad can it be? What's the worst that can happen? They feel like they don't want to make it worse, and they're really restricted, and they don't have that the fuck it gene in them, and they and I think they are making effort, and they're doing their best. It's just not coming off. It's just not working, and something not working. And I think yesterday there were no excuses. That team was good enough to beat West Ham. Even with that front three, we had a top midfield, top defence. We should have been good enough to beat a poor, lowly 16th place West Ham, who are one of the worst defence in the league. And so they're flat.
And we were terrible, and they only beat us 1-0. So what does that tell you?
Yeah, exactly. It wouldn't take much, but we're at the moment. It's just who we are at the moment. Mate, and sometimes it's really hard to change that momentum, and it's who we've been all season, up, down, up, down, up, down, and we've managed to paper over the cracks and survive, and maybe this is just all those chickens coming home to roost. This game was in the post, or whatever analogy you want to bring in, and then that bleeds into the crowd, and I think we're just all very apathetic. It's just like and maybe now once we do realize it's over, maybe there is a bit of freedom, and maybe whatever, or maybe we tense up because we're worried about second.
Do you think this is our flagging season? You know, like Liverpool had 3 goes at the title, didn't they, and then flagged. Do you think that's ours and it's just come early?
I don't think I don't think progress is linear. So just because we did well in the last 2 years and there's a steady build and all the rest of it, it's that the next season is always going to be even better and then even better. And I think sometimes you do need a bit of sometimes you go 2 steps forward, 1 step back, you know. Yeah, a lot of people say that. The reasons why we've gone back, that's what you've got to really analyze. So the fact that, you know, and you do have a season that you regress a bit, or like you say, a flagging season. And you said, yeah, there's that time, you know, Liverpool got 90 odd points, didn't win the league. They got record number, they didn't win the league. And then they finished on 58 points. They're just about, I don't know if they made Champions League. No, they made Europa League, I think.
Oh, Europa,
and now look at, yeah, so it can happen. And I think that's you know, we just maybe have to accept it. And the reasons why we know multiple reasons in season why we're here. Yeah, dodgy decisions, the injuries and things like that. But then also we need to analyze what is it that we've done that could have mitigated that. And everyone is now pointing to the summer and the winter and how that has really impacted the consequences of those shitty things happening. So we were not best prepared to deal with those things. And this is why this sort of game happens, the season that we have happening. You know, I still think, you know, look at Liverpool. Everything seems to have gone their way, and look where they are now. I think if we had our main team that didn't have the injuries, didn't have the red cards, I think we'd be top of the league and be challenging. And irrespective of what we did in the summer, irrespective of what we did in the winter, I think we would be top. I think we were good enough. But that's very, you know, unicorn situation. That's very, well, everything has to go perfect. We are that sort of, everything needs to be perfect for everything to work. So yeah, but I'm prepared to accept it. I just think it's one of these things. It happens. Let's learn from it and we move on again. But football fans are very now, and it's very win now and all the rest of it. So it's a tough one to balance out. I mean, where do you stand on that?
Well,
are you sort of accepting it's a flagging season?
Well, no, I wouldn't accept that at all, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But I think that we've had control of certain parts of our destiny, and I don't think it's necessarily been dealt with in the right way. And
so expand.
I think that I think we should have bought one. If we couldn't bought 2 players in January, we should have bought 1 player in the summer, on the forward line, and we should have bought 1 player in the winter. And it doesn't matter if they were particularly part of the plan, right? I'm not going to mention names as such because obviously I don't know the profiles and the insides and the backgrounds of necessary players, but we know that players are available. We know that players have release clauses. We know that we could have got them. So the question has to be, why didn't we get them? So is it because the manager is basically so adamant on the player and profile that he wants that we don't get them? Is it because the owners don't want to put the money up and can't release the money until the accounts have come in? Or is it the lawyers and the sporting directors that can't get it over the line? Because something's wrong somewhere. Mm-hmm. And it's getting to the point where it's like, well, if you can't get over the line, the last time that we had a situation like this, the whole lot went. Everybody went. So is it a point that needs to happen again?
I think it's a bit of everything. You're right. I think Arteta has a certain profile that he wants, and he doesn't want to disrupt his plans just for anyone. I think there are financial elements to it. So our hands are tied to a certain extent. And why did we prioritize the right signings? So that meant we missed out on other elements because we were prepared to get Sesko in. And I think a big point is actually the director of football stuff. I think Edu leaving, pushed, jumped, whatever, is a big issue, because you don't just leave on day one. If those in the corporate world, or those who've been, who don't work for themselves, or something like that. If you leave, you've left a few weeks or a few months ago. So are you really giving your best? Are you really doing everything out there? Now, I'm not going to question his integrity and things like that, but it's not ideal. And then there's that gap. So I'm sure that also causes issues, because what's Gerard Ato's workload? Is he the right person? Maybe he can technically get stuff done, but is he the man in the room to press the flesh and attract people? So I think there's a combination of all of those factors. I don't think there's one silver bullet. I think it's an element of that, and I think at the end of the day, it's an executive decision, and some have more power than others. So as much as Arteta may say, I want this person, if he says, well, yeah, as much as you like him, sorry, we can't afford it, and he says, well, it's this person or no one, then we're stuck. And I said, and so getting no one in the summer just meant the winter was even harder, because actually, if you get someone in the summer and we still have the issues, you can supplement a lot easier with someone lesser than, again, trying to find that, oh, well, there's no one that fits our profile, or no one, we just don't want a body, and we're going to take the risk, which hasn't worked. So yeah, it's a lot of everything in there. And then it comes down to the one question that we don't know. I mean, our owners have said they're not in this to win trophies. Now, I think that's a bit taken out of context, or things like that. I'm sure they do want to. I mean, in their other franchise in the US, they've spent and they've won. They've all won their respective leagues. But every football owner doesn't. Every football owner, they're there to increase their investment. So the only one thing we don't know is how much they're prepared to do to win, or versus just get Champions League every season. And that's a toughie, and that's where things mismatch. So everyone gets angry because fans want to win things. I'm sure the Cronkies do, but how much do they want to win it? And that's a challenge.
This is the problem, isn't it? And you get obviously other fan channels of other clubs that basically go, well, Arsenal fans don't want to win things. You're like, how does that make any sense? We spend our money on season tickets and such like to go to games, and of course we want to win. What are you even talking about? It doesn't make any sense what you're saying. You don't want to win. I mean, it's absolute waffle.
Yeah, we all want to win something. It doesn't mean that's the reason why we love going to see Arsenal and follow Arsenal, and our reaction isn't always like, if we don't win, everything's shit, and if we win, everything's brilliant, because there's because otherwise 99% of all football fans would just be miserable as hell every week, because only how many win things every week. So there's a difference between why you enjoy football and why you keep going irrespective of the end result, but we still want to win something, and we're in a fortunate position that we have the opportunity to, or we can actually say, well, we've got a chance to. But where we get frustrated is, are we doing everything you can to do that? And it's a hard one to pass, because what we want and what the owners want, and we can't control it. and I don't know how. There's not a lot we can do about it.
No, there isn't. We can sit on channels and do things all we want, but what are we going to do? Are we going to stand outside the stadium every game going, we want the manager out? What's that going to achieve? It's just going to make us depressed, and we're not really going to get anywhere. So I don't really understand what we're supposed to do. And if we give up season tickets and such like that, somebody else is just going to be in our seat. It's not going to change anything. We've got 20-year waiting list for a bumming season ticket. There's plenty of people. If we just turn our season tickets, what do you just want to make our lives miserable? Just because you don't agree that we didn't do the right thing, we don't want it. Well, if I had the person,
I think the good thing is,
sign it off straight away.
I think the good thing is there's always another season. There's always another chance. There's always another thing. So we just put out, okay, fine. We write this off. As I said, there's a lot of good things about the club and a lot of good things of where we are at the moment. It's just this very short term moment in time. It's not really going very well, and it's just not happening for us, as so to speak. Yeah, by the way, you've just paused on my screen. You're still there. So you've just paused on my screen. So you're still talking. That's fine. That's good.
Yeah,
I wasn't too sure.
Okay. No, yeah, I mean, it's just frustrating, really. Yeah, it's frustrating being an Arsenal fan because it seems like every other fan base has got something to say about Arsenal, and you're like, I mean, you got West Ham fans in the ground singing "Second Again" and this, that, and the other. I mean, it's great banter, but you're close to relegation, man, and I understand the banter and stuff inside the stadium and stuff, but it seems to be that everybody else can do the banter except Arsenal. So as soon as anybody does anything against anybody else, how dare they do that? They're arrogant. They're this, they're that, they're the other. And you're like, what? What you don't seem to understand is we get barraged by every single club. Some of them not even in the Premier League. And
I know we're an easy target. We make ourselves an easy target,
and we just get to a point, and we're just like, sometimes for fun, sometimes because we peed off, and whatever, we reciprocate with it, and it's crime of the century if you do that. Apparently, it's a bit weird.
Yeah, I'm not. No. As I said, I had a West Ham fan on the pod last week, and he was sending me lovely voice notes and messages last night, and fine, I took it, and I said, sorry, I'm busy. But fair play to them. They get their fun where they can, and that's the beauty. I said in football, you've got to find the fun where you can, because again, not everyone can win trophies, not everything. So you've got to find those moments of joy. That help me. I mean, I just responded to him, said, "Well, yeah, fine, you enjoy your day, but when you wake up in the morning, you'll still be a West Ham fan." So there you go. So,
Nice, I like that.
So it's just it's a bit of fun, and again, we're of an age that we've seen a few things, and we've been fortunate enough to see us win things and see us be bad, see us be good, see us be average, and everything. So maybe we're easier. It's easier for us to take it on the chin. We can still be frustrated, but I don't think we're throwing our toys out of the pram and so on. But
if we have a landslide out of the top four, then maybe. But
well, yes, come and talk to me.
That's a whole different story.
Yeah, if that happens, then bloody hell, that's another story. And then I'm getting the pitchforks out. We're going down to the Emirates.
Absolutely. I want the owners out and everybody out. If we're outside the top four again.
Yeah. So look, just back to a bit of yesterday's game. So I mean, the one performance that one person who's getting a lot of stick online is Odegaard. I don't know, something's not quite right. I don't know, he's still not fully recovered from the injury. New baby, he looks very gaunt, missing connections with better players. I mean, do you think the stick is deserved, or do you think there's mitigation? I mean, he was our best. He was player of the season 2 seasons running. So
I don't think anybody deserves stick, to be honest with you. I think that they're wearing the shirt. You should back the player, and they should get all the support that they need. Really, I don't think it's anything to do with, whether they're on form, whether they're off form. They're wearing your shirt, for God's sake. So you should back every player that wears your shirt until they're not wearing the shirt anymore, in my opinion. And all right, we have outbursts and such like, and share our opinions that they've not necessarily done the greatest job. But it's not as if they've never done that job before. It's not as if they've never performed for the club before. So I think it's right to say that he's not on form, because it's the truth. To basically saying, I've seen things, he should be stripped of the captaincy. He should have this, he should have that. The thing is, the guy doesn't have a rest. It's the same old situation. He doesn't have a rest. Relies on him every single game. So he hasn't had time to play himself back in from the injury because he just got dumped in there. And I'm not completely sure he's actually up to the fitness level anyway.
No, I mean, I think someone was saying that they see him wince like when he was taking corners before Winery was taking him. Like, the free kick on the edge of the box. Really, Odegaard? Are you? I mean, this is how low his confidence is, or maybe in
Yeah,
his body. That is set up. I mean, we've not been. I think other than Saka against PSG with a lucky free kick, he scored against Burnley 3 seasons ago. That was the last direct free kick we scored. I think.
yeah,
And why isn't he taking that? It's not a pity penalty. It's a bloody free kick on the edge of the box, and we're losing 1-0. So
yeah,
you're right. I think he's still suffering, and look, we are better with him than without him,
yeah,
even though he's playing badly. I mean, the record is since the beginning of January 2024. With him in the team, we've won 27, drawn 7, lost 2, and that's like a 2.3 points per game. Whereas without him, 1-4, drew 2, lost 2, 1.25 points per game. So you're right, he's on form, but he's not the only one. Again, everyone yesterday was just pretty pants to be honest, and he just seems to be a bit of a lightning rod. Maybe because he's the one trying to G up the crowd, and so that then puts the eye on him. Maybe because he's our captain, but he's there trying to press it. You can see him trying. It's just not happening. So, but then there were bits of yesterday where he was hiding a bit in plain sight sometimes. So, yeah, something's
yeah,
not right. It doesn't feel like that's him. You don't go from being player of the season 2 seasons running, and we were eulogising him last year's season, to he's a bag of shite. He shouldn't be captain. Get rid of him, whatever what people are saying. So it's a bit pants. So look, if we look at some of the key moments of the game, I was trying to look back at the first half and key moments. I think West Ham had a couple of close chances. We had a couple of shots. The main thing that frustrated me yesterday was a chance for Rice where he got in behind from a nice pass from Marino, and he looked so indecisive. And whether to shoot left-footed or cut inside with his right, and typically you run out of space and he gets tackled and it's not going right. And I think you called out at the beginning his performance. Is it something about playing West Ham? Is it too emotional for him? Or just he was just rubbish.
I don't know what it is, to be honest. I don't think it was. He's had good performances against West Ham. He's not had. They've not been groundbreaking, but it can't be the West Ham thing. Surely, the professional players, for God's sake, surely they've got. And certainly for £100 million player, I wouldn't expect that to be such an issue. But I think generally he was frustrated with himself. But yeah, nothing went right for him, did it yesterday? Nothing at all. His touches were
Yeah. There was a lot of players with very heavy touches. Yeah, there was a lot of people you could see just bouncing off, not controlling it, short passes. Just a reflection on the team as a whole. That was in the 43rd minute, and then in the 44th minute, yeah, West Ham took the lead, and it looked very simple. Just Wan-Bissaka, he did well down the right. Was sort of toying with Calafiori for a bit, and then a decent cross, and then one of their smallest players comes in and heads the ball home. From actually kneeling down position, I think it was as well. So, I mean, what was your take on the goal?
Yeah, it was bizarre. It really was bizarre, and I don't really like the sidestepping thing that Calafiori was doing, and then he kind of just didn't do anything, just kind of let him go. And all right, I think he's been told, because he's done a few occasions now where he's gone in quite rashly and kind of let the guy go. But at least if you go in on him, he's got to go round a body. You know what I mean? So if you're down on the floor, you're static. So he's at least got to adjust to go round your actual frame. But I didn't think he was tight enough. I don't think he did enough at all. But when he got to that, he got to like 2 yards from a touchline. Surely that's the time to be going, right, okay. I'm either going to go towards you and try and barge into you, sort of thing, or you're going to basically slide in and try and win the ball. But he wasn't very positive from that point of view. Was it Gabriel that was supposed to be marking Bowen?
No, no. It was Declan Rice. I think Declan
Oh, it
Rice
was.
let him
Yeah.
go. Well, it was a bit like, and this again yesterday. The performance was everyone seemed to be waiting for someone else to do something. Oh,
Yeah.
you do something. Oh, you do something. And so a bit like this goal. I think Rice let him go, and well, Gabriel getting him, and Gabriel thinks Rice are getting him. So neither one did anything, and he just snuck through unmarked, knelt down, and headed it. And from my position, maybe, and you would see, I thought Rare actually was going to come and get it, but it was just in between all three of them, and no one took charge of the situation other than Bowen. And they scored. So it was like really poor defending. I mean, on the Calafiori thing, I think Calafiori in a straight line, up and down, with or without the ball, is very powerful, very strong. No one's getting in his way, etc., etc. But where he falls down is when you're coming up against a tricky winger who tries to maneuver him, and he doesn't have that quickness of movement or that agility to react, and maybe because of that he stands off a bit to see what he's looking at, but then he gives the player too much space. And maybe in Italy he gave players more space, and as you said, he would go in now tighter, and then he would get done. So he's still trying to figure out, okay, what are my distances, what am I dealing with? So he's still 22, still learning. But yeah, I think you're right, he stood off him too much. But even then, when the ball comes in, there's plenty of height and
plenty of supposed cover, but there wasn't
cover to deal with it. And then it was always an uphill battle. I mean, they scored, and it wasn't coming, but they'd had a couple of chances. And then second half again, not a lot of anything. I mean, Rice came off. I don't know which one I'd rather it be, tactical or injured. I guess I'd rather it be tactical. But then it was a really bad decision because I'm sure they're a take-off party and not Rice. And if he's injured, then hopefully we're not scuppered for Wednesday. And he brings on Zinchenko. Now, I think a lot of people have talked in the past, oh, why don't we give Zinchenko a chance in midfield? Why? And he never, ever does it. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, losing 1-0 when we're playing at our worst, and you chuck him in midfield. I don't know. That seemed very odd. What did you make of that?
Well, I think he's got to replace Marino in midfield, doesn't he? So the Marino midfield substitution is no longer there.
Yeah.
So he had to replace it. And that was the replacement. It's just
it was odd though, wasn't it? Zinchenko going away. Again, like we said, take off party, bring on Jorginho, and
I don't know why that's not the move, given that you got you were putting MLS on. You've got Timber in there. They both invert midfield anyway.
Yeah.
So why don't you get Party off and put Jorginho on so he can actually create something with the pass rather than with a bit of pace. I mean, I quite like what Zinchenko was doing. To be fair, he was in fact he was kind of the only one that was actually making any kind of movement. To get a forward ball, but not the answer for me.
Or even Sterling again, like you were just saying, were we under any real pressure? Get another forward on. Take off Rice and get another forward on, and maybe Marino can drop or something. I don't know. It seemed a bit odd. And then after that, Trossard has a shot and a decent save with a keeper by his feet, and then a big moment. Well, the MLS red. What were your thoughts when you saw it happening? Real time before the VAR. So, do you think he got away with one with it being a yellow? Did you think it was a red?
I mean, I was completely in the other camp. I was like, no way, that's a I actually thought he was fouled. I thought Kudus fouled him in the first place. And I think that there was some kind of replays online. I haven't really watched one of them properly, but I thought that there was a foul before it even got to MLS. But that's semantics. They're 50-50, so you either get them or you don't. initially in the stadium, I was in the moment, and I went, "No way, it's a red." And then the guy in front of me said, "The keeper's well out of position. This, that, and the other." And I was like, "Nah, I'm not having it." Saliba's there as well. And but yeah, I watched it back, and the position of the keeper is just terrible. I don't understand why it's that far up the pitch. And maybe if he was at that moment of the tackle, he's at least backpedaling, then possibly he gets away with it. But the fact that I think Raya's done, he did Saliba, didn't he, by basically being too deep, and he did MLS by being too high. So maybe he had that in his mind. I don't know.
Yeah.
So maybe he's gone, "Oh, if I move backwards, I'm going to initiate the red card. But by staying here, maybe that thought was in his head." Yeah, I think it's a correct decision. I think it's a red card. I think the ref on field got it wrong. But saying got it wrong, I think he did the right thing. I think he did. He gave him the yellow, and he waited for VAR to overturn it.
Yeah.
For me, that's VAR's job.
Well, okay, I've got something to say on that one because it's interesting given what Harold Webb said on Monday about the MLS red card against Wolves. So, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I was with you. I was saying, God, I dare you to send him off. I dare you to send him off. Go on, ref, I dare you. And he didn't. He yellow card. So good, nice one. Okay, I was pleased with that. Then all of a sudden, VAR. And I couldn't figure out why the VAR, because I think it was Gabriel or Saliba in the middle. I didn't notice rare at all. And then when it came back, I thought, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. They're covering, and then they came up and said, "Oh, because of the goalkeeper's position." I said, "What?" I was expecting Raya to be on the edge of his box, and then when I watched it today, I said, "Oh shit, yes, that's a red card," because no, from where he was, there was a chance to shoot. There was. Not that he was ever shooting, and the irony is that they almost got into a very similar position on the 94th minute. Oh, and guess what? He didn't shoot, so there was no goal scoring opposition. But that's by the by. So look, at the moment, I was calling bullshit. I said, "No, come on, you're kidding me, really? Another BS decision and all the rest of it." But so had he given a red at the time, fine. My issue now is not with the decision, but Howard Webb said about the MLS red card against Wolves that VAR would not overturn the decision because it doesn't want to re-referee the game. What did they do 5 days later? They re-refereed the game from VAR, and they turned a yellow card made by the referee into a red card. So which one is it?
The thing is, they did that with Saliba's one anyway, and then there's been 3 other instances of the same making where he's gone, "Oh, the ball's not going towards the goal, or it's not doing this, and it's not doing that, it's not doing the other." These instances are just put in place so he can make himself on stage, basically going, "I am the man. We're not going to change anything. Suck it up, Buttercup, and this is what it is." Right? Doesn't matter what you say. Whatever you say is wrong, and whatever I say is right. That's literally all it's gone down to, and in some instances, they're right, and in other instances, they're completely wrong. But they talk the way out of it to make them right. And while ever that is happening, nothing is ever going to change.
Well, they're under, but also who's going to change them? They rule their own. They're their own dictatorship or whatever you want to call it. There's no.
It is a dictatorship.
There's no one there saying, "Well, you're wrong and you're inconsistent and you're disorganized and 1 week you say this and 1 week you say that." So again, this is not to argue the red. I think we've both said it's a red, but you can't say 1 week we won't re-referee decisions by VAR and then the next week we will, because then you're just basically you say they're not account. That's the word I was looking for. They're not accountable to anyone. So you're right. Howard Webb can do what he wants and we can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And then this is not Arsenal's problem. This is everyone's problem. This is everyone's issue. But look, I don't want to go on about that. We know this. We've talked about it to every channel's talked about this till they're red in the face.
Can we just do a clarification?
Yeah, go.
Just for the sake of no, you're not talking about just Arsenal decisions.
Yeah.
Right. The penalty for Aston Villa, that never happened. Have you seen this one? Have you seen
against
against Chelsea? The
okay, no, I didn't see that.
Cucurella basically holds his arm,
Yeah.
and then that's not good enough. So he basically crosses his arms, pulls his arm towards him,
Yeah.
leans backwards. So he's got all his weight on his arm. So he's pulling his shirt and his arm. So literally his shirt is kind of stretched.
Yeah.
And it's still not a penalty. In what world? In what world? The other one with the Everton one.
Oh yes, but the last minute against Man United, yeah.
And this has got debate up because there's Man United fans going, if you're calling for that to be a penalty, then there's something wrong with you. The problem is, right, that I didn't call for it to be a penalty.
Yeah.
The referee on the field called for it to be a penalty. So unless there's clear and obvious, as they keep telling us, nobody knows what clear and obvious actually means.
Yeah, it means nothing.
It means nothing. It means they're just made up words.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can get them to mean whatever you want them to mean. Yeah, it could mean that there's a little flick, or it could mean that there's a stud in the face. It could mean anything. You don't know. But I'll tell you something. If grabbing somebody's shirt, and I don't think he did it twice. I think he did it 3 times. But he never showed, the VAR never showed the ref that angle.
Yeah, there was the one behind the goal. There was an angle where it's clearly, there's that triangle shape of where the shirt pulls out and where the hand is. Yeah. And I mean, the guy was actually young, so he's renowned for throwing him. He did not need to go horizontal. And I think
he absolutely did not. He absolutely did
not. That's what cost him.
But I don't understand why.
Yeah,
right?
And you're right. It's not clear and obvious.
It's not clear and obvious because of the shirt pull. It's not a clear and obvious error.
Yeah.
Granted, yes, he put his leg out to make contact. He went over like a skittle. It's Ashley Young. He goes over like a skittle. But he had two shirt pulls in the back. And that releases it from a clear and obvious error.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Again, it's everyone's problem, not just ours. We just seem to have suffered the most.
I just want to clarify that is basically, we do watch other matches, not just Arsenal, and we have opinions on those as well, not just going, oh well, we all think it's only Arsenal that are hard done by. We don't at all. Yeah, AFTV might, but we don't.
No, definitely. And look, after that, it didn't really change much. It didn't change anything. I mean, maybe there was a couple of breakaways from West Ham, but I don't think MLS coming off changed a huge amount as a left back. How much of an attacking threat would he be? I think there was just a couple of times they broke away that it didn't help. And then really not much happened. I said we had that poor free kick. Trossard shot over, and then there was the Ben White one, which from my angle, I was waiting for the side netting to ripple, and I think you're similar to me, but just in the lower tier. What was your view on that? Were you sort of
I thought it was
in? Yeah,
I thought it was in. I mean, obviously, I haven't actually seen a replay of it.
No,
to see how wrong I was, but yeah, looking from it from the angle, and I was just happy somebody shot from there. To be honest with you,
great shot, hit it so sweetly.
Yeah, it was a banging shot, and unfortunately, unfortunately for us at least, the net didn't ripple. And it was still 1-0. So but yeah, it was just nice to see a bit of activity on the attacking front from that side, rather than a
pass it inside and
dribbling ball about 3 yards or whatever.
Yeah, no. So that was it. Game over. Gutted, not even a sucker punch, but just we all gutted, frustrated, annoyed. Yeah, a lot angry. Yeah, lots of emotions. All right. I think everyone's emotions are valid. We're not here to police that, and I'm sure there's mitigating circumstances. But then also, I think we should have been better to beat this team. But there we go. Wasn't meant to be. And then so Liverpool won today. So what now? They're on 64 points. We're on 53. Okay, game in hand. But yeah. So look, in terms of before we look at Forest, what now for the rest of the season? Are you concerned about top 4, top 5. I mean, we're in second with 53, Forest third with 47, Man City fourth with 44, and then Newcastle fifth with 44, and Bournemouth in sixth with 43. So I think top 5 will pretty much get Champions League. So what are you thinking? For the what do you think our goals are for the rest of the season, and are they achievable?
Well, I think the goal is to remain in second,
Yeah.
and obviously to stay in Champions League positions. I guess there are mitigating circumstances to a point of view, but they've been created by the board and or lawyers and or Arteta. Don't know who it is, but yeah, we carry on and we hope.
Do you see any danger? Do you see any danger of us dropping out? I say we're clear, no. 6 points clear of Forest, and then 9 clear of City and Newcastle, and 10 clear of Bournemouth.
Yeah, but they've got to play each other as well, haven't they? So none of those are consistent. And I'll tell you something as well. And Newcastle made Man City look really good. But I don't know where that performance came from. I don't know why that performance happened. But they played like statues against City. And then you see against Forest. I saw somebody say Forest are very very Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah,
well,
they are.
If you look from Newcastle, they're the same.
Yeah.
So I think that they've all got to play each other. I think Liverpool got to play Newcastle next, haven't they?
Newcastle play Liverpool next. So when we play Forest, it's Newcastle. It's at Liverpool. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I still think that the top teams or those top teams either play each other or they've got hard games.
Taking points of each other.
I don't know what the running is. I haven't looked at the running. But I do know well, Chelsea have got a particularly good difficult run coming as well, haven't they?
Yeah.
So don't they play Liverpool?
Yeah, they've got a few tough games.
And Newcastle.
Yeah, I mean, I think on your point on inconsistency, that we're all inconsistent. Arsenal, Forest, City, Newcastle, Bournemouth, Chelsea. We're all win a few, lose a few, win a few, lose a few. Well, actually, we were win and drawing. It was only yesterday. It was our first loss in 15, 16 games. So, we were the most consistent out of the inconsistent teams, and then Liverpool are Liverpool. So, look, I'm not fearful that we'll drop out, but I just having the season die off in a whimper would be just a bit like, nah, So I want to finish as high as possible, finish second. If it's 3 seconds in a row, so what? I'd rather finish second than third. I'd finish third than fourth. If we can finish above City and Chelsea and Newcastle and whatnot. So, I think everyone's waiting for Forest to potentially drop off, but they still seem to be still sort of hanging around. Bournemouth, I mean, it'd be nice if Chelsea don't qualify for Champions League. That would be very funny because they need it for their money.
I don't really care, to be honest.
I've got a deep hatred for Chelsea. So
have you?
yes. So there we go. So look, our next 5 games is Forest on Wednesday. Then we got PSV on the Tuesday the 4th, then Man United on the Sunday. We've got no game this weekend coming up, and then PSV at home after that, and then Chelsea before the international break. So, don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Is Chelsea away?
Yeah, no, at home. So Sunday 16th at home. So it's going to be interesting. Something's got to change. Something's got to lift. We need to trigger something. I don't know what that is. Otherwise, it's going to be tough. A tough run in, no matter how bad the team is. And maybe what suits us are maybe teams that come at us a bit more, because we're struggling against the low blocks, mid blocks. When we play against teams, maybe Chelsea, maybe Man United, maybe Forest, that suits us better, because then we're not having to just get through these mid blocks, low blocks. So we should have a defence that can deal with most things that get thrown at us. So let's see. So starting with Forest on Wednesday. So Sparx, what are you looking forward to about the game, and what you're not looking forward to about the game?
Forest can play either way. To be fair, they can sit deep and hit on counter, or they can. Well, I think that's what they tried to do against Newcastle, and then they ended up quite a few down because they kind of flipped the switch too early. But yeah, I think they're susceptible at the back, but they've got a goal in them, so it's dangerous, especially if we're not scoring goals. And we're not keeping the ball out of our net. It's obviously it's going to prove pretty difficult. To be honest with you, I'd be
Is there
happy
anything to look forward to?
Is there? I mean, I think it'll be a better, more flowing game of football. Whether we can actually put the ball in the net is obviously the biggest test. I don't know. Do we see Marino again as a striker?
I would say so. They've got some big units at the front. The thing is, so the thing I didn't get around to saying about the West Ham game is that the West Ham, they play with 5 at the back or 3 at the back, so it's either 3-5-2 or a 5-3-2 or whatever. So what that did was nullify our wingers, because you could nullify them because there was always a man out there to front up against the winger, and then there was no space inside, so it was easy to close him out. And then Marino was up against 3 big defenders, and as much as he can move and as much as he can try, that's easy. And I think even Potter alluded to that. So, well, we knew what Arsenal were going to do, so it was pretty easy what we were going to do, and we practiced that all week. And that was actually one disappointing thing. We had a whole week to prepare for the West Ham game, and that's the best we could muster. So maybe having the shorter turnaround is better for us. No, I think we'll go Marino. They got some solid units at the back, and Trossard will get lost. So unless we change, okay, if we're going 4-3-3, we have to play Marino. The one thing is Sterling might start because Waneri, how screwed he came off with cramp. Again. Yeah. Are we relying on a 17-year-old who's still developing, whose body is still getting used to the rigors of Premiership? Do we now start with Sterling on the right and Waneri on the bench?
Sorry, just one thing on that. You've seen all the online things basically saying Waneri's got to start, right? Have you seen all this now?
No, well, I just assume that that's what everyone wants because that's just the very easy thing to say.
Yeah, exactly. So they're all going, oh, Waneri's got to start. He's got to do this. Meanwhile, saying, Arteta burnt Saka out, right? So it just blows my mind. You literally last week said Arteta playing him constantly is burning him out. You caused the injury. You've done this. You've done that. You've done the other. Throw the 17-year-old in, and you just
come on. You're expecting too much of football fans.
Come on, man! You're going to make my head explode. Make sense.
Football fans, how often can they have contrary positions all at the same time? And it's just the life of being a football fan, and it's basically so you can be right.
Yeah,
because at least one of them will be right. So, but I got a feeling, and actually in a way, maybe putting him on the bench, he can change something. So I'm pretty sure Marino will start. Calafiori has to start because he obviously MLS is out. Then the questions are around: do you start Ben White versus Timber? Is Ben White fit enough to start? Because they got some tricky wingers, and do we want Timber's defensive nous versus White's attacking threat? Is that a game to throw him in? Because they got Morgan Gibbs White on one side, and Elanga on the other, I think, as well. So Partey versus Jorginho, so we haven't got a game at the weekend. So I don't know. What would your starting lineup be, or who would be the sort of changes you'd make? Maybe just to freshen it up.
I think I'm going Ben White just purely from that attacking threat on the right hand side, just to get that back. Okay. I think Timber needs a rest. I think he's been overplayed for a little bit because he's not that long back from an injury. He's done well to kind of not slip back into the injury boat. So I think I play Ben White and Calafiori, which is obviously quite easy on the other side. If I'm going Merino, I'll probably put Sterling on to start with
Okay.
and give
It,
Trossard the rest because he's
give Trossard a rest, not Waneri. So you'd do Trossard. Okay.
yeah, and then potentially swap it over when it gets a bit later on in the game. Take off Wanieri for Trossard, switch them round so Sterling goes on the other side,
Okay.
and then keep Merino in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a
Okay.
shame we haven't got a substitute for Ødegaard, but
No, we don't. And I don't think Waneri's the substitute option. I think he, in the time he's tried to play there, he's got a bit lost. I think in the Premiership, I think he can be. I think let him learn his trade out wide. No, we don't have an alternative to Odegaard, and again, this comes back to the summer and attacking purchases, and yeah, we are sort of single point of failure as far as he's concerned. So maybe he can turn it around. Let's hope he he's looking gaunt as well. So let's hope he gets some food in him and just puts in a performance.
Get some sleep by the looks of it.
Yeah, exactly. Like so yeah. Look, and the other thing, we seem to be easy to play against at the moment. It's very easy to set up. Teams know what we're going to do, and teams know our current position. So I also want to try and find out. So if I'm looking forward to something, is maybe seeing Arteta try and figure out, okay, I need to do something different because Plan A is not working. Even against Leicester City, we got there in the end, but that was Plan A. And Marino, I'm not sure it was a Plan B. It was just a fuck. I've got to do something. Yeah, I wouldn't even call that a plan. I want to see us to try and do something because at the moment we're very defensively, very easy to play against. You can just nullify us. So let's try something different. So maybe a different formation, maybe some different players in different positions.
Let's for Ødegaard, maybe. I've said that for quite some time because he presses too far up front for me. He comes too far deep. So one minute he's on the goalkeeper. The next minute he's next to Partey.
Picking it up from Raya and whatever. So
so either Partey's got to get it to him easier, and that's why I think Jorginho might be a better shout than Partey at times. But put him in that left eight with somebody a bit more advanced on him. Granted, we don't have anybody for that right now, but going forward, if you're looking.
We could put Trossard there, maybe. Put Trossard, but in the left eight position if you want something a bit more attacking wise.
Yeah, but I'm talking about long termism rather than just.
Yeah.
I think that the long term is potentially putting Ødegaard in the left eight.
Oh, and Waneri right eight.
Havertz kind of in front of him, and then obviously a striker.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, long term, unfortunately, we've got to deal with.
I know we've got to deal with the here and now.
Yeah.
I'm just,
I think, you're right. There's a couple of things. Yes, he's our only attacking creative midfielder, but he's not even really like that creative midfielder type, and he relies on the relationships with Saka and Ben White and rotations and things like that, rather than really. Very rarely he's picking holes and picking that. He does it occasionally, but I don't think that's his. We need another maybe attacking option.
You need a bully.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That's Arteta's job, and we'll see what comes. As another player to add to the list in the transfers, then there we go. That's fine.
But I think Havertz is that. I think that Havertz is already that. I think he's the more physical profile and just a bit more. I don't know. Uninhibited, if that's even a word.
Uninhibited. Yeah.
So he's always going to do it, but he doesn't have to get back to the side of Partey to create something.
Yeah. Let's just see. I'm just hoping. So, looking forward to maybe seeing something different. If we can figure out a way out to be creative. I just don't want to see another turgid, flat, limp display. Let's go out. If we're going to lose, go out trying, go out attempting something. Take the shot. Now that maybe the title's gone, we may have a bit of freedom with us. I don't know. And what you were saying about Forest being inconsistent, like their recent form. They lost 4-3 away to Newcastle. Then they beat they lost 2-1 to Fulham, so they've lost a couple in a row. Then they beat Brighton over Albion 7-0 after losing 5-0 against Bournemouth. Then they beat Southampton, drew against Liverpool, and then beat Wolverhampton. That's their last seven games. Their home form's pretty good though. They've won 7, drawn 3, lost 2. Scored 22 against 10. So they let in a goal, but they score a goal. Chris Woods. I still don't rate him, but that's a different story. He's having the season of his life.
Well, it's the winger, isn't it? I forget his name now. Ilanga.
Yeah,
he's just ridiculous. And
yeah,
15 million quid he cost them.
Yeah, he's had 8 assists this season. Gibbs White 5, and then Elliot Anderson. I don't know him, but he seems to be sort of coming up into the rated. And they got Callum Hudson-Odoi as well. So
Anderson's the Palace one, isn't he?
Don't know. Just a name that I've seen pop up in terms of top rated, top scorers, top assists. So look, they've got threats, but they're also beatable. We found them hard to break down before. I think it was it. We played them at home this season. Okay, we won 3-0. That was, I think that was one of our better performances. But in the past, it's been 2-1 to us, but we've also lost to them. So I expect it to be a difficult game. They're on a even though recently they haven't played well, they want to bounce back from a couple of defeats. Seem to have a decent full strength team, so it's not going to be easy.
No, but we've only lost 3 games, to be fair. So even if we come away with a draw out of it, I think that's not an achievement as such, but not a failure either.
If we're thinking context of staying top 4, we're now going to be thinking a draw away to Forest is fine. Whereas beforehand, we have to beat Forest to stay up with Liverpool.
It's 100% must win.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily an FA Cup final anymore. It's more like we need to stem the flow and basically, lost 3 games and drawn 8. So it's we're talking like we're in the dumps and
it's all contextual.
But obviously, when you're trying to go for a title and you get to the point and you're like, right, okay, we're done now. we got to change focus from forwards to backwards.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what's your prediction for the game?
Difficult one. It's a difficult one. This is. I'm going to go 2-2.
Wow, we're getting 2 goals. Excellent. 2-2. Okay. Well, I don't ever predict a loss. I'm not going to do that, even though my head sort of potentially says we could lose. It's got a sort of 2-1, 2-0 loss about it. It depends. But I'm going to go 1-1. I think 1-1 is doable. Is doable. Yeah, let's just see. Let's just see if we get a performance. My main thing is to try and get a performance. If we win, lose, don't know. But I just want to see a performance out of the boys and try and build some momentum for difficult games ahead. Especially PSV next week. So
I think I'm hoping for an early goal and then the game opens up a little bit, because it will be kind of sat back and counter attacking until that moment, I think.
Yeah, let's have some shots. Let's just spank one in from 30, 40 yards. Let's just do one. Look, we beat...
Let's have a Ben White hat trick. Let's go with that.
Yeah, there we go. Look, come on, we beat City 5-1 the other week. Come on, we're not that bad. It's all good, all good. Okay, on that note, time to say goodbye. So, look, thanks, Sparx, for your time today. Appreciate you joining me on the Grove podcast. But where can people find you and listen to the work that you do?
Yeah, firstly, thanks for having me. I appreciate being invited on. I have a YouTube channel, Footy Corner _TV. Obviously, Tabs comes on there as well. And we just talk all football. We don't just do Arsenal, we do all kinds of teams as well. So, check out the channel.
Okay, good. Thank you for that. And look, you can follow The Grove on Threads and Blue Sky at the Grove AFC. Where you'll find me trying to wind up opposition fans and just general Arsenal chit chat. And then the next show we'll do is post Forest and then pre PSV, so sometime towards the end of the week. So look, thanks again, Sparx, for joining me.
You're welcome, and thanks for having me.
No problem. My pleasure. And so until the next time, come on you Gunners.